listening to the Danger Tapes podcast with your host, Devin Ramos.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Danger Tapes podcast. My name is Devin Ramos, and this is episode 202 of the 200s, a Danger Tapes Odyssey. And to start out, I want to say that I am working on something substantial for the podcast. I'm working on it with some friends. I kind of want to say who. I don't know if I should. Maybe next episode I will. But, they are very good friends of the podcast. They've been on many times. And they've actually been on several times in the 5 years that the podcast has been going on. The podcast turns 5 in September. I'll get to that in just a couple minutes. But I can't say what it is just yet. Just like I can't say that who I'm working with and what it's going to be. But in the span of a couple weeks, which is when we hope to actually do this thing, you'll know what it is. And I think a lot of people will be really happy in what it is. I think all of us that have a few people know what it is. The important people know what it is. And not that you guys aren't important, but I think that the people that will actually have a hand in making this grow, I've told this is a few people. I could probably count on one hand the people I've told. Maybe two. But this will happen in the span of a couple weeks, but it's something that I think with whoever's involved, they've been working on this for several years now. And actually 5 years. I would say 5 years, which is, I feel like when everybody kind of started out. So it's been a long time coming. And I think that we've all just sort of outgrown our current situation. And we want to build. We want to come together. We want to converge into one. So you'll know in a couple weeks. I think that I've given you enough information, and hopefully you guys will really be happy for us, because I think this is a big move, and I think this is something that where we could actually, like I said, grow and leave our mark the way we've been wanting to with what we've been doing. So, again, a couple weeks. Now, the podcast is turning 5 in September. It's been a long time that I've been doing this. When I started this, I was 22 years old, right? I think so. And, I started this in 2011. And I was a lot younger. I was a little bit more naive, a little bit inexperienced with a lot of things. And I don't know, I just wanted to start a show that reflected everything that I kind of knew and everything that I thought was cool, everything that I was doing, because I was going to a lot of shows. I was a part of, the ill-fated Lotus Lounge. And I wanted something to reflect that. Now, I think I accomplished that in the last 5 years, and I think that the guests that I've had on, the conversations that I've had, have been really good. I think, there's a few episodes which could have been a lot better quality-wise, but I've learned a lot. And I've learned a lot in what I've needed, and I learned a lot in what I don't need to make a successful show, in my eyes, because I think success is relative. And in my eyes, success equals something that people will actually pay attention to, and people that actually request it and ask for you to do it. And in a sense, I just want it to be known, and I just wanted people to buy me a beer at a bar. I never wanted to make a lot of money off of this. If I ever did, it would have been extra, and I certainly wouldn't have been opposed to it, but it had to be under the right terms. So in the 5 years, I've learned that, and I think that I'm really excited for the future, because like I just said, I am working on something, and with these episodes, the 200s, it's not so much that I want to go back to basics. It's that I want to take the basics that I've learned, I want to apply that to a foundation, and I want to grow to it. That's the reason I took the last 3, 4, or 5 months off, because it wasn't so much that I didn't want to do the podcast. I think that, with one of the episodes that I recorded last week that didn't turn out as good as I thought it would come out, I think I've just been enjoying life. And I think that was really important to the podcast and really pivotal to the podcast because, when I was recording the podcast prior to that, like let's say December or even December or even November, I had kind of forgotten how to enjoy things. And I think I was stuck in a rut, and I think I was stuck in the same circular motion, just spinning my wheels. And I think the podcast suffered because of it. So I really knew I needed to take a break. I knew at the time when all that was happening, just me sitting on the couch drunk almost every night. Not that drunk, just kind of half drunk. I knew I needed to take a step back, but because of the timing, it just wasn't the right time. So I took this time to really just enjoy what I was doing, enjoy the time with my girlfriend, and just kind of let life happen. And I think it was much needed. So, I think that because of all these breaks and considering what's coming, I'm really happy with where I've landed with the podcast. And I think that I'm excited. I'm excited for the future, and I think that it's going to get me off my ass and really get me to actually work towards making this show better for everybody and doing what I set out to do, was make a show that the High Desert didn't have. So now that I actually have it, now that I actually have, people backing me and backing me up, I should say, not financially, but just backing me up, I think that I could really set out to accomplish that. And, as far as radio goes and audio and listening to shit, I think that, it's going to be nice to have an alternative that isn't, a High Desert station on Y102 or the Fox. No disrespect to them. I really enjoy Nights with Alice Cooper, but Nights with Alice Cooper isn't recorded at the Fox. It's a syndicated show. So, I enjoy those stations for what they are. But moving on, last week I said I was going to the Salted Pig, and that didn't happen. I did want to go to the Salted Pig. I hadn't had a pork belly sandwich in quite a long time. But Karina and I ended up seeing Ghostface and Raekwon at the Shrine for the Low End Fest. Now, we had planned to go to that concert for a while. And I had the tickets, but we have a few other trips planned in the future. There's a few other things that we are going to end up doing, and I wanted to sell them because I just wanted to put the money towards those things. And I put them on StubHub. I ran out of time, so we decided at the last minute to go to Low End Fest, even though we had been planning it for like a month. We decided at the last minute to actually go, and I think I was really happy with the way it turned out, because I think if I had continued on with the plan and brooded about it and tried to make it like the best day possible, I think it wouldn't have fell short, because it ended up being really fun anyways, but I think I would have hyped it up too much in my mind to where it just wouldn't have been as great. Because I think with Low End Fest, I actually expected a lot more people, and the turnout was not like what I expected at all. It was actually like way less people, and it was actually a really mellow show for what I've seen at a Wu-Tang or Ghostface or Raekwon show. Really mellow. I think when Rock the Bells was going on back in 2011, 2012, I think that was the last time I went, and I saw GZA, Ghostface, and Raekwon. It was a lot more hype. There were a few times when I thought like a riot was going to break out. Like it was hyped, but fun too. And there was a lot more people. I thought the LA show would have a lot more people, but it was really mellow. And I think it was really cool because I think I was just really wanting to hang out. Me and Karina were able to stand at the front like I had wanted to. Nobody bothered us. Nobody tried to cut in front of us like I've had problems with at other shows. It it was really cool. Like, we had stood there for a few hours. My back was killing me, but that's what happens at every show. And it was nice. It was nice to be there right at the front row and see. We also saw John Wayne. We also saw Daedalus, which I was a fan of Daedalus back in like 2007, I think. I downloaded 2 of his albums off of iTunes. And I don't know who the fuck he was back then, but I thought his like sound was really cool, and I knew he was fucking with MF Doom at the time. And his set at Low End Fest was actually really, really cool. I did not expect that at all. Just both with the live percussion and the live, as far as the way he spins and everything was really cool. I mean, I have a really hard time describing music. I know what I like in music, and I know I like good music, but I have a hard fucking time describing it. So I'm trying to get better at that. But Daedalus was really cool. John Wayne was really cool. Who else did we see? We also saw Mixed by Ali. He was okay. And we saw one other person that I thought was really, really cool. I think Gaslamp Killer. Who I've heard a lot about, and I think that the sets that he spun in between, all the acts was really, really cool. I think he did a really good job. So that was fun. I really liked that. Daddy Kev. I also saw Daddy Kev, which I've heard a lot about too, and I was really impressed with him because he knows his shit, obviously, and he knows how to spin what, the hype, and he knows how to spin what people don't know. So I thought that was fun. And yeah, like I said, I think it just turned out to be really cool. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that Ray and Ghost are, and like with a lot of the Wu-Tang Clan, maybe not so much like maybe You God, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is that Ray, Ghost, Method Man, GZA, they're all like the top of their performing ability. They're like masters of the stage. I've gone to shows for newer artists, and I think they could take pages from their books of the Wu, in which their performances don't rely so much on shock, because what I'm finding with a lot of these newer artists is that they're trying to shock people, and sometimes that's fun. I saw Action Bronson throw a midget off the stage before, and that was cool. That was kind of funny, just because it's Action Bronson, but you could tell he's trying to rely on shock. Every show he's trying to outdo himself. And to a degree, that's not bad. But there comes a time in which your performing ability is going to have to speak for itself and can't rely on that shock. Because you can only top yourself so much before it just becomes, this spectacle and this sort of novelty act. And I think that's the danger in which someone like Action Bronson or any other artist runs the risk of running into. I think there are a lot of really good artists out right now, but I think that in terms of somebody that's been around for almost 30 years, like Ray and Ghost have, I think that experience really shows on their performances. Like I said, Low End Fest didn't have a lot of people. It didn't. But Ray and Ghost were still having a good time. Like that, they were having as good a time as they were having when I saw them at Rock the Bells. And that was really impressive to me. You could tell that they weren't like disappointed that there wasn't more people, because there could have been a hell of a lot more, and they could have been really disappointed and just said like, you know what, fuck it, like let's just do this show, like get out of here and collect the check. Like no, they actually had fun. They brought people on stage to rap the verses on Protected Neck for Method Man and Old Dirty Bastard, and they just had a fun time with it. They didn't have to be that way. And like I said, I think with just newer artists, they have to take a page from that book. But otherwise, I think as far as the show goes, like it ended like really like maybe it was just me getting old, but I thought the show would end like maybe an hour earlier than what it was. I'm trying not to get like that. I'm really trying to enjoy myself past that hour in which I think like, okay, I've had enough fun, time to go home. I'm trying to enjoy myself more past that, even though I was kind of tired and I really didn't want to fall asleep driving home, because it was kind of a long drive home. But I mean, it was kind of cool because when we left the show, we were looking for an In-N-Out, and I had a 3-buy at In-N-Out. I had a 3-buy at the one in West Covina, and they were really cool. They were already about to close, but they They made me the fucking 3-by, like no other In-N-Out has ever made me a fucking double. So it was delicious. I would have ate another one. Like, it was so good. Yeah, it was really cool. And like I said, I think that with going to the show with Karina, it made me realize that she knew, like, all the cuts for Raekwon and Ghostface. All the songs they played, she knew them. And it made me think back to when I was, 22, starting the podcast. 21, 22, starting the podcast. And when I found that I wanted a girl like her, but, I always felt like girls never liked that shit. They didn't like good food. They didn't like good music. And I used to dream about that. They didn't listen to the wild shit I listened to. None of it. And I think that a lot of guys are like that. They want a girl like that. They want one that's cool. They want one that they likes all the same shit that they want. In a sense, they do want a dude. Like, I hate to bring up that sort of meme. They kind of do want a dude, one that'll play video games with them and do all the shit that they do. And to a degree, I think that's true. But I don't think it's to a degree like Chris Rock says. They want a girl that'll like the Wu-Tang Clan, and I'm paraphrasing here, that'll like Wu-Tang Clan and Seinfeld. But I think just to that degree in which they'll be laying in bed for hours, they could do that, or they could do some other shit and have just as much fun doing it. But I think most importantly with guys is that you almost have to be able to handle that type of relationship, so to speak, because I think that guys could dream about that, because like I said, I did. But I think had I met a girl like Karina when I was 21, I don't think I could have been able to hang. I think that despite the fact that I liked so much of the same things that she does now, like to almost a T, because we do have our own preferences, but I don't think I could have been able to hang. I think guys romanticize that idea, and I think I romanticize that idea, but I couldn't have handled that even. And I didn't even have the maturity that I have now. And I was kind of mature when I was, 21. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I was pretty mature. I think that I was definitely a lot more mature than a lot of the guys I was coming into contact with. But even so, like, I think the maturity and the inexperience that I had was just off the charts. And I think that I wanted a girl like that, but it would have never worked when I was that younger. It would have never worked. And in some way, like, it just would have been me, trying to improvise and try to figure out how to keep a girl happy. The interest of good food and art was there, but it takes more than that. And I think that it takes more than a well-curated Spotify playlist to not be a fuckboy. And I think at 27, I've achieved what I need to even begin to have everything I've ever wanted. I mean, just to start, because having everything that you ever wanted, whether it be what I'm working on now, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a career that pays well, it takes a responsibility. And there was a conversation with somebody on this podcast who I don't really mess with anymore, that was talking about, as far as art goes. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm not trying to preach here. This is just sort of me, going through some thoughts. But in the conversation, he said that when it comes to an artist, you could have, if you were to get all the fans you've ever wanted, and I'm paraphrasing here again, if you were to get all the fans you've ever wanted tomorrow as an artist, how would you keep them happy? And how would you keep them happy if you can't even keep 1 or 2 or 3 fans happy? Because you have to start at the bottom and you have to start at baby steps. And I think that applies to life as well, because if you get everything at a very young age, like we see with child stars every day, they literally have everything and they grow up to be assholes and nobody likes them, just the way people are still sort of split on whether or not they like Justin Bieber, and they can't figure it out because, oh shit, he was actually on a Chance the Rapper song, who is a very good artist. I don't know what to think. Like, what the fuck? Like that. Because that kid had everything when he was young, and he has everything now. Has he achieved the responsibility to maintain that? And in a sense, you could be Justin Bieber as well, in the sense that whether you're 20 years old and you get everything you ever wanted, will you be able to maintain that responsibility? Because I think that at 19, 20, or 21 years old, if I had been given what I've worked for in the last 5 years, and they had told me that I would have it for the rest of my life, I don't think I would have been able to even maintain it, or even take hold of, the responsibility that I needed to keep that. I think I would have fell flat on my face at 24, and I would have lost everything that they had given me. Because I felt like that. I did feel like that at 24 and 25 years old. I did feel like the few things that I had achieved through this podcast were ultimately going to dip down. And despite the fact that I was making pretty good connections, I knew I was going to get bored with it. And I knew I wasn't going to want that responsibility anymore. And I didn't walk away. I just decided to kind of burn everything and start anew. So there I am. I don't know how any of that ties in. Again, I don't even know if this is even relevant to your life, but I'm just trying to have some thought here, and I didn't mean to preach to you. So I'm going to wrap this podcast up because we are at about 22 minutes. If you've made it this far, and you don't think I'm a douche for trying to preach to you, because I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to reflect on my own life and hopefully find some common ground with the rest of you. So again, thank you guys for listening. I will be back next week. I'm trying to get a guest on for one of the first few episodes of the 200s. And I have some prospects in which I want to. Please stay tuned for what I am working on with the other people. I'll bring you more information as it comes through. I'm trying not to get too excited myself, just because when I do, I just give myself anxiety, and it's not good. It's not good. It doesn't do good for my health. Okay? So I think August should be a fun month for everybody. Enjoy the rest of July. We still have, at the time of this recording, we only have like 3 days left. So it'll be August by the time this podcast drops. And again, the 5-year anniversary of the Danger Tapes is in September. So stay tuned. Keep listening. Thank you guys.